My name is Jeff Chamberlain. I'm director of the Fredrik Meijer Honors College here at Grand Valley State. And this is the second Fredrik Meijer lecture. The inaugural lecture was last September, a joint venture actually of the 50th anniversary in the Fall Arts and the Fredrik Meijer lecture. So this is the second in the series, and one which we hope will continue to be the caliber that is deserved for this type of event. We're very, very fortunate. This lectureship was endowed by the Meijer Foundation, which is represented this evening by His Honor Mayor Robert Verheulen, who is over here to my left. Wave her up. And we're really very, very grateful because this is giving us the opportunity to do something very important, something Grand Valley takes as a very significant part of its educational mission. And that is to create something crucial, connecting liberal education and success in careers. And so that's the whole point of this lectureship as it was created, so that it shows in bold relief a variety of different people and backgrounds and how liberal education has helped them in their careers and helped them to go on to be very, very successful people. And our speaker tonight is very well qualified to illustrate those connections. He received a liberal education at Dartmouth College, where he graduated cum laude, by the way. I don't know if you tell many people that. I don't know if you try to keep that quiet or... But he's proven to be extraordinarily successful, extraordinarily effective in his chosen field. He's worked in the entertainment industry for well over 20 years now. And most prominently, he's been a Directors Guild of America assistant director on some of the top films that you will ever see. He has worked with people such as Peter Ware and Dead Poets Society, Robert Redford, Ordinary People, and Clint Eastwood, Honky Tonk Man. In fact, he told a group of students this morning a great story about Clint Eastwood. If he doesn't tell that from the podium, feel free to corner him afterwards. He's got a lot of wonderful stories that way. He has cast films and television pilots for Warner Brothers Television, has been unit production manager and or assistant director for a variety of television shows and series, including The Golden Girls, which some of you may remember. He directed a documentary on Los Angeles that was aired by PBS, which subsequently received an Emmy nomination. He's also produced and or directed a number of independent television projects. And not long ago, Mr. Seidman started his own film company, Honey Creek Pictures. And you'll hear a little bit about that, I'm assuming, tonight. He both wrote and directed his most recent project, The Christmas Bunny, starring Florence Henderson. The film, as you probably know, was shot here in West Michigan. And there was a premiere of it last November, I believe it was. It will be coming out. It was picked up for distribution by Screen Media and has won 2 awards, actually, in Hollywood at the International Film Festival. So it's getting some significant notice and appreciation from critics and viewers alike. You'll be able to see the film, as I understand, during the 2011 holiday season, so make sure you watch out for The Christmas Bunny. Mr. Seidman has also been intimately connected to Grand Valley. First of all, he is the son of L. William Seidman, who I'm sure you know was a visionary leader that helped create Grand Valley. And obviously, our debt to the Seidman family is very, very great. So he brings that connection. But he's also connected in a very practical way. Last summer, he directed the School of Communications Film and Video Summer Film Project called Horizontal Accidents, which is premiering, in fact, Thursday, 2 days from now at Celebration Cinema North. I believe it's 7 p.m. Tickets are $5. They're not sold out yet, are they? Okay, so you've still got the opportunity to go and see that film, which I understand has some wonderful, wonderful things, and I was hearing a little bit about it today. So, as you can see, Tom is very qualified to talk to us tonight about the connection between liberal education and a successful career. So please join me in welcoming Tom Seidman to the podium.
Well, that was great. Jeff, you spent so much time with that introduction. I was about to throw away about 3 of these pages. Spare you. It's really cool to be here. I know a lot of you, so this is very neat. I want to thank Jeff for that very kind introduction, and thank Jeff and Fredrik Meijer, our college, and the Meijer Foundation for having me here tonight. And I just want to say to Mary Beth Corbin, who actually suggested me that I will get you to this. You know, I tortured you 50 years ago, and I can tell I can do it again. So, I was pretty surprised when I got the call to do this, because I really felt like, you know, they were calling the wrong season, and that the guy they wanted, unfortunately, wasn't available for this anymore. It's something that I'm still trying to get used to. I think a lot of us are. So I thought, okay, that's okay. They're going to Seidman bullpen, you know, for sort of the backup pitcher. But I have to remind you that something that my father used to remind me whenever I go running to him was like a new stock pick or a mutual fund. You know, pick up those little pamphlets that you get that says on the bottom, it says a very small print, past performance is no guarantee of future results. So you've been forewarned. But I will do my best. And actually I said that. I said, you know, I can't do this as well as I can. And they said, no, we want you. We want you because we really consider you to be a modern day Renaissance man. They really said that. And I said, really? Tell me more. So they said, well, you were, you know, a lot of the things you've heard about, you know, a newspaper reporter and a television reporter and an assistant director of a lot of famous directors. And they said, and then you started your own company, you know, and you conceived your own business plan, and you went out and raised the money for it, and you wrote the script, and then you found the actors, and you put the budget together, and you handpicked the cast, and, you know, even qualified for the Michigan Film Incentive. And I have to tell you that has been one of the more arduous experiences of my life. Your money is well protected here in Michigan. There's been a lot of talk about film incentives giving out money left and right, but believe me, they make it very, very tough. I thought I was going to have to arm wrestle Governor Snyder in order to get my check. I still haven't gotten it, as a matter of fact. So we did that. We qualified for the film incentives with our movie, and you know, and I created the tagline for the advertising campaign, and you know, I filled up kerosene cans in the middle of the night at Meijer's parking lot for the space heater on the film. So these are things that they did when they brought up a lot of these things. They said you're a Renaissance man, and I said, well. Leonardo da Vinci, Thomas Jefferson, B. Thomas Seidman. Okay, I can get used to that. And then I thought about it, and I realized that they were really confusing a Renaissance man with someone who was just too cheap to hire anybody to work for him. And that's actually, there's a lot of truth in that. I think a lot of you know that I'm really a small businessman, is what I am. I mean, I'm an independent filmmaker, but that means you're a small businessman. You're creating a project, and you're selling it, you're financing it, and you're doing all the paperwork, and, you know, that's what I am. Here's a small businessman. And I also realize that it's not, you know, really possible to be a Renaissance man anymore, I don't think. You know, back in those days when there really were there was the amount of knowledge in the world was really finite enough that if you really, studied or were a scholar and were incredibly energetic, you could get your mind around the majority of the knowledge that existed in the world, as recently as like 100 years ago, maybe 150 years ago. And now, it's just, impossible. I mean, there's been such an explosion of knowledge. That, I Googled Renaissance man just for the fun of it, and there were like 5 million, results that came back. So I don't really think it's possible to be a Renaissance man anymore, sadly. I think there's just too much knowledge in the world. And because there is, I think that there has been an increasing emphasis in the, job world, the employment world, that you really need to be a specialist. You need to figure out what you want to do. You need to concentrate on it. You need to find, very specific specialty and put all your time and energy into that so that you can get a job. And, there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, as we all know, it's a very, very tough economy out there. I certainly don't need to tell anybody from Michigan how tough the economy is. And so I think the emphasis is becoming increasingly, liberal arts education is great, and, it's wonderful you get to learn all these things, but it may not be relevant anymore. It's really time to focus on getting work. I was talking with Jim Roberts, who was my producer on the summer film, and there was a professor at Grand Valley, and we were talking, and she was sort of promoting the fact that liberal arts seems to be falling by the wayside to a certain extent. And I said, you almost need to, go out and get a job and make a good living and then come back to school, 10 or 20 years later and get your liberal arts education then. And he said, he said, that would be so sad. That's the way it had to be. So, I have, a liberal arts education. I took liberal college prep. I don't know if they still have that. I took college prep in high school, Forest Hills High School. And then went on to Dartmouth, which is where my dad went, and, in liberal arts. I mean, I took, liberal arts courses. It was a liberal arts curriculum then. And, it was, and at that time, this was the 60s, and, coming out of the 50s, and there was a lot of prosperity in the country, everything was growing, things were booming, and I think maybe it was a little bit easier to think that that's the kind of education that everybody needed. It was the time of, here, I'll show you. Let's see if I can find this game. It was, the time of flower children. And there's one now. That's not my younger sister. That is, that was me. That was me at Dartmouth College. Just wanted to know that the flower children actually existed, and there's one now. And, we had, and I think that there was the time and the money and the prosperity for, quite what's called the finer things in life, for literature and art and, and then all the other things that we did that we shouldn't have been doing at that time. But for a liberal education. So I think that I think I'm going to take that down. It's a little distracting. So I think the question you really have to ask is, does liberal education really have relevance today in this kind of economic climate and in this kind of a job environment where you need to get a job, and specialization is really where the jobs are. I mean, so I think that 80% of the new job growth is going to be in, going to require a math and science base. I mean, there's no argument with that. It's just the truth of the way things are today. So, does a young adult really have the luxury to spend for years acquiring a liberal arts education, the cost of it, even in Grand Valley now, it's getting expensive. When you need to find a job, and, you need to graduate and find a job. So, one of the, kind of traditional arguments, I think, or defenses of liberal arts education has been, yes, it's important to get a job, but liberal arts is more than that. It really teaches you about, the values of life. It teaches you what's important in life. And that was, and I have a clip here from the Dead Poets Society, because I think, Robin Williams does it pretty well here, and demonstrates that point of view. No, that's not what I want to do. There we go. Okay.
No matter what anybody tells you, words and ideas can change the world. Now see that look at Mr. Pitt's eye. 19th century literature has nothing to do with going to business school or medical school, right? Maybe. So how could you may agree with them thinking, yes, we should simply study our Mr. Pritchard and learn our rhyme and meter and go quietly about the business of achieving other ambitions. I've got a secret for you. I'd love to. We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. To quote from Whitman, questions of these recurring, of the endless trains of the faithless, of cities filled with the foolish. What good amid these, O me, O life? Answer, the guild are here. The life exists and identity. And the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute to this.
Okay, that's pretty powerful stuff. And it was a pretty powerful experience. I mean, I was there when that was shot, and that was pretty powerful then, too. That was a very remarkable experience to be able to be involved with that film. But I am going to say that there needs to be, I'm going to take a more conservative, if you will, a tougher, a harder line view here. That is poetry, and by extension, liberal and also the traditional liberal arts studies are all very well and good, but they're not good enough. Liberal arts has got to have, I'm going to make the supposition, liberal arts has got to have some practical value as well, some dollar and cents value. Okay? In this economy and the way the world is today. We don't have the luxury of seeing it any other way right now. So, what I decided to do was I'm going to look at my own job and my own work that I do as a small businessman, independent filmmaker, and I'm going to look at my liberal arts education, and I'm going to see what practical value it has for me today. I'm going to take a look and say, did those 4 years that I spent studying liberal arts at Dartmouth, are they helping me today in what I do? So in order to do that, I pulled out something that I have not looked at in probably 30 years, and that is my Dartmouth College transcript. There it is. Well, that's about half of it. It's longer than that. But and this is, typewritten. Somebody typed this. This was not done on a computer. You can see type term right there, 64. That's the fall of 67, which is when I started in Dartmouth. So what I'm going to do, we're not going to go through the whole thing, would go through a few of these courses and take a look at them and say, okay, let's look at these. You know, I went to Dartmouth. You know, my family paid a lot of money for me to do that. It was really worthwhile for me to spend those 4 years there. So we'll just start right at the top with European history to 1750. Okay. I will be honest with you. I remember virtually nothing about this course. You know, I have some recollections of kings and castles. I remember there were a lot of popes. I don't remember any of their names. What is ironic is that this period actually does include the Renaissance. So the fact that I even know what the Renaissance is and who Leonardo da Vinci is, we could probably, you know, attribute to that course. But is taking that course, is what I learned, the facts I learned in that course helping my business today? I gotta be dead honest here. You know, I gotta say, I'm gonna give this with a minus. We're gonna give them a plus, a minus, or a neutral zero. So I tried my best. Okay, moving on to introductory Italian. Okay, we had to take, I don't know if this is still true, but you had to take a language at Dartmouth. You had to take at least a year of a language. Is that still true? Is that valid? Yep, well, we had to do that. We had to take a year of a language, and then I was lucky enough, you can see down here, which is the next fall, I was lucky enough to go to Florence and do a semester abroad, which is what that independent study project, Italian literature, Italian languages down there. And I spent 3 months in Florence, and it was great. I mean, I had a lot of fun, and I drank a lot of wine, and I ran around town on a Vespa, and, you know, and I fell in love, and I got terrible grades. I got the worst grades of my college career, actually. I mean, you can see C+, I got a couple of C's. I got a B, I didn't realize that. But I got mainly C's. So is the fact that I had to take Italian for a year and spend a semester in Italy helping me in my business? Well, as a matter of fact, we are selling my film right now all over the world. You sell each territory individually. So we're selling, you know, Europe, we're selling France, we're selling Italy. And my sales guy said, you know, you need to make cuts in your film. He said they're, you know, very secular in Europe, and they don't like the spiritual stuff that you've got in your movie, and you need to cut that out. And I thought, you know, I've spent time in Europe, and my experience is that Europeans are pretty worldly, particularly when it comes to the arts. You know, they accept a lot of stuff, and I don't think that they're going to reject this film because it has some spirituality in it. So I said, no, I'm not going to cut the film. I'm going to, you know, if they come and say, we don't want the film because it's got too much spirituality in it, then we can talk about cutting it. But my experience of, you know, Italians and Europeans is they can handle this stuff. So far we haven't cut the film. We also haven't sold it in Italy yet. So the jury is still out there, okay? I mean, we got to give that sort of a neutral score, I think. But my gut tells me that, you know, we're going to be okay. And a lot of that is based on the fact that, you know, I was there. I experienced the people there. So, you know, I think that potentially could be a big plus. So, we'll move on. We're not going to do all of these, but we can do a couple more. Fundamental physics is next. This is all still my fall semester, freshman year at Dartmouth. And that actually has had more relevance than I would have thought. Because filmmaking can be, and often is, a very technical medium. I mean, you know, you write the story, you hire the actors and everything, but then there's the whole aspect of shooting the photography and the cameras and the lens links. And I happen to know that the red digital camera, which we shot on, has the same picture gathering surface area as a 35mm film camera, and also that the red camera's 4K digital resolution is equal to or greater than the photochemical resolution of 35mm film. Now, many of you may not know what I'm talking about there, but what that translates practically is that I could shoot a feature film on equipment that was way, way, way cheaper than shooting it on film and have a film that came out looking like a professional Hollywood film. And a lot of it was based on the fact that I knew just enough about sort of physics and light and depth of field and lenses that I could make that translation in my head that this is going to work for me. I didn't need to rely on an expert to tell me that. And I remember studying light and setting up light stuff and physics and everything and fundamental physics. So absolutely, that's a plus. It's a big plus. So we're about neutral at the moment. Okay, last course was phys ed. I don't know, is phys ed still a requirement? No, I don't think so. Yeah, phys ed was, I had to take phys ed. I had to take phys ed all first year. I had to take it every semester. And, I happen to believe in phys ed. My dad did. I still bike 8 to 10 miles a day. And as a result of that, I have a resting heart rate of about 50, I think. And what that means is that I may actually live long enough for my investors to get paid back. So that's a big plus for my investors. So phys ed, I don't know, it's a good thing. Whether it's helping me in my business, it's helping me personally. So I'm not going to go through, the rest of these. But there's a lot of, as I got on, you can see there's a lot of drama classes in there because that was my major. Theater was my major. Obviously, this stuff, is very helpful to the work I'm doing. Stuff